My family mocked my small tech company, until the merger papers arrived. The dining room table was set with the same mismatched china that had been in our family for generations. The air carried the comforting aroma of my mother's lasagna, a dish she prided herself on, though tonight it felt more like a prop in an unfolding drama. Around me sat familiar faces, Mom, Dad, my older brother Jake, and his wife Sarah. They were all laughing at something, probably one of Jake's lawyer stories, but their voices faded into background noise as I stared down at my plate, picking at the edges of a garlic knot. "Emma," Dad said suddenly, breaking through my haze. His tone was light but laced with the faintest edge of condescension. "How's your little project going? Still chasing those tech dreams?" I forced a smile, though it didn't reach my eyes. "It's not just a little project, Dad. It's a company." He chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Right. Of course it is. But you know what they say about startups, most don't make it past the first year. Jake smirked from across the table, swirling wine in his glass. "Yeah, maybe you should think about getting a real job. Something stable. You've got the education for it." Sarah chimed in, her voice syrupy sweet. "Oh Emma, we're only saying this because we care. It must be so stressful worrying about bills and all that. Why not work somewhere where people actually value what you do?" Their words stung, but I'd heard them before. Over and over again, they dismissed my ambitions as if building a business out of nothing was some childish fantasy. To them, success meant climbing corporate ladders or securing six-figure salaries, not pouring every ounce of energy into creating something meaningful. But I couldn't blame them entirely. When I left my cushy marketing position 2 years ago to start my own tech venture, everyone thought I'd lost my mind. Even I had doubts sometimes. Those early days were brutal, late nights hunched over my laptop, endless pitches to skeptical investors, and countless rejections. My savings dwindled faster than I could earn anything back. And yet, despite everything, I kept going. Because deep down, I believed in what I was doing. "Actually," I began, lifting my head to meet their gazes, "things are starting to look up. We've secured a few key clients, and revenue has grown by 40% this quarter alone." Mom raised an eyebrow, dabbing her mouth with a napkin. "That's wonderful, dear. But let's be realistic. Tech companies come and go. Remember that app craze 5 years ago? Half of those businesses disappeared within months." Her comment hit harder than I expected. Not because it wasn't true, tech startups did fail often, but because she sounded so certain that mine would too. She wasn't even willing to entertain the possibility that I might succeed. Jake leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table. "Seriously, Em. You're smart. You could land a great gig anywhere. Why waste time trying to compete with giants when you could be working for them instead?" "It's not about competing," I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. "It's about solving problems. Making a difference. Isn't that better than just collecting a paycheck?" Sarah gave me a pitying look. "You're young. You'll understand someday. Stability matters more than passion when you're paying rent and buying groceries." The room fell silent except for the clinking of silverware against plates. I felt small, insignificant, like a child being scolded for coloring outside the lines. But beneath the surface, something else stirred, a quiet defiance, a stubborn refusal to let their doubts define me. "I guess we'll see who's right," I murmured finally, pushing away from the table. "Excuse me." As I retreated to the kitchen, I caught glimpses of their expressions, concerned, amused, dismissive, and clenched my fists tightly. This wasn't the first time they'd mocked my dreams, and it probably wouldn't be the last. But I knew one thing for sure, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of proving them right. No matter how hard things got, no matter how many times they doubted me, I would keep fighting, for myself, for my team, and for the future I envisioned. And someday, I vowed silently, they'd have no choice but to believe in me. 2 weeks later, I found myself sitting in a cramped conference room at the local co-working space where my team operated. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting long shadows across the whiteboard covered in scribbles and diagrams. Across from me sat Mia, my co-founder and best friend since college, her face glowing with excitement. "You ready for this?" she asked, tapping a pen against the table. "As ready as I'll ever be," I replied, forcing a grin. Truthfully, I was nervous. Today marked a pivotal moment for our company ByteForge, a name we'd chosen during one of our late-night brainstorming sessions. After months of negotiations, we were finalizing a partnership agreement with Nexus Solutions, a mid-sized software firm looking to expand its offerings. If everything went according to plan, this deal could catapult us into a whole new league. Mia handed me a stack of documents. Here's the draft. Take a look, make sure everything aligns with our goals. I flipped through the pages, scanning clauses and figures. The terms were favorable: shared resources, joint branding opportunities, and access to Nexus's established client base. Most importantly, it gave us the financial stability we desperately needed to scale operations. For a moment, I allowed myself to imagine the possibilities, to picture ByteForge thriving, growing, becoming exactly what I'd always dreamed it could be. But then reality crept in. What if we couldn't deliver? What if the pressure became too much? What if? Stop overthinking, Mia interrupted, reading my expression perfectly. We've got this. Look how far we've come already. She was right. 2 years ago, ByteForge existed only as a vague idea sketched on a napkin during a coffee shop brainstorming session. Back then, it was just me and Mia, fueled by caffeine and determination. Our mission was simple yet ambitious: create affordable, user-friendly tools to help small businesses streamline their operations. At the time, the concept seemed laughable. Who would trust two inexperienced women fresh out of college to revolutionize anything? Turns out, quite a few people would. Our first product, TaskFlow, a project management platform designed specifically for solopreneurs and microbusinesses, launched quietly, without fanfare or major advertising. Yet somehow, word spread organically. Freelancers raved about its intuitive interface. Boutique agencies praised its affordability. Within 6 months, we had enough traction to hire our first employee, a brilliant developer named Alex who worked miracles with code. Still, growth came slowly. Every milestone felt monumental: signing our first enterprise client, moving out of Mia's apartment into a proper office space, landing coverage in a prominent tech blog. Each victory brought joy, yes, but also relentless scrutiny, from investors questioning our scalability, competitors eager to crush us, and of course, family members quick to remind me of the odds stacked against us. Like last month, when Jake texted me a link to an article titled, "Why Most Startups Fail." His message read simply, "Thought you might find this interesting." Or the time Sarah suggested I attend a networking event hosted by her law firm, implying I might benefit from meeting more serious professionals. Even Mom occasionally hinted that I should consider teaching high school computer science, as if educating teenagers could somehow fill the void left by abandoning my entrepreneurial pursuits. Yet here I was, on the brink of something extraordinary. The merger with Nexus represented validation, not just for me personally, but for everyone who'd ever believed in ByteForge. For Mia, who sacrificed weekends and holidays to ensure deadlines were met. For Alex, whose tireless coding transformed rough ideas into polished features. For our handful of loyal customers, whose feedback helped shape each iteration of our products. This is happening, I whispered aloud, more to convince myself than anyone else. Mia grinned, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. Damn straight it is. Later that evening, I returned home to find my parents watching TV in the living room. They glanced up briefly as I entered, then resumed their program without comment. Normally, I'd retreat to my bedroom, avoiding further confrontation. But tonight, something inside me snapped. "Hey," I called out, standing in the doorway. "Can we talk?" Dad muted the television, turning to face me with mild curiosity. "Sure, kiddo. What's up?" Taking a deep breath, I stepped closer. I wanted to share something important. Something big. Mom set aside her knitting needles, tilting her head slightly. "Is everything okay?" "Better than okay," I replied, pulling a folder from my bag. ByteForge just signed a merger agreement with Nexus Solutions. It's official, we're partnering with them to expand our services and reach new markets. For a split second, silence hung heavy in the air. Then Dad cleared his throat, frowning. "A merger? With who?" "Nexus Solutions," I repeated, handing him the document. "They specialize in enterprise software solutions. Together, we'll be able to offer integrated platforms that cater to both small businesses and larger corporations." Mom peered over his shoulder, scanning the pages. Her brow furrowed. This seems substantial. It is, I confirmed, heart-pounding. This deal changes everything. Financially, strategically, it positions us to grow exponentially. Jake appeared in the doorway behind me, having overheard the conversation. He crossed his arms, skepticism etched across his face. Wait. Are you telling me your tiny startup managed to partner with an actual legitimate company? Yes, Jake, I snapped, irritation flaring. That's exactly what I'm saying. He exchanged a glance with Sarah, who now hovered beside him. Well, congratulations, I guess. Just don't get too comfortable. Deals fall through all the time. His words ignited a spark of anger within me. You know what? Maybe you should try believing in me for once. Instead of constantly tearing me down, why not support me? Encourage me? Trust that I know what I'm doing. The room grew eerily quiet. My parents exchanged uneasy looks, while Jake shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, they seemed unsure of how to respond. Finally, Dad spoke, his voice softer than usual. Emma, we never meant to discourage you. We just worry. Starting a business is risky, and we want what's best for you. I appreciate that, I admitted, exhaling slowly. But sometimes, worrying isn't helpful. Sometimes, it holds people back. And I refuse to let fear dictate my life. With that, I turned and walked upstairs, leaving them to process my words. As I closed my bedroom door, a wave of exhaustion washed over me. Arguing with family always drained me emotionally, but tonight felt different. Tonight, I stood my ground. Tonight, I refused to shrink under their doubt. Tomorrow, however, would bring new challenges. Tomorrow, I'd face the daunting task of integrating ByteForge with Nexus solutions, navigating uncharted territory filled with potential pitfalls and unforeseen obstacles. But for now, I allowed myself a small measure of peace, knowing that I'd fought for my dream, and won a crucial battle along the way. Because regardless of what happened next, one truth remained undeniable. ByteForge was no longer just a small tech company. It was becoming something greater. And soon, very soon, the world, including my family, would see it too. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the blinds of my modest home office, illuminating stacks of papers and sticky notes scattered across my desk. The glow of dawn seemed almost symbolic, heralding a new chapter for ByteForge. As I sipped my coffee, reviewing the finalized merger documents one last time, a sense of purpose settled over me. This wasn't just about proving my family wrong anymore, it was about proving to myself that I could navigate the complexities of scaling a business without losing sight of its core values. By mid-morning, I arrived at Nexus Solutions headquarters, a sleek glass building nestled in the heart of downtown. The contrast between their polished environment and ByteForge's humble workspace was stark, but it didn't intimidate me as much as it once might have. Instead, I viewed it as an opportunity to bridge worlds, to merge innovation with experience, agility with structure. Inside, Mia waited for me in the lobby, her usual bubbly demeanor tempered by a hint of nerves. Ready to meet the bigwigs? She joked, though her knuckles were white around her coffee cup. As ready as I'll ever be, I replied, offering her a reassuring smile. Together, we approached the receptionist, who directed us to a conference room already bustling with activity. Around the table sat executives from Nexus, their sharp suits and confident postures exuding authority. Among them was Mr. Carter, the CEO, whose reputation for shrewd decision-making preceded him. Ms. Thompson, he greeted warmly, rising to shake my hand. Welcome aboard. We're excited to see what this partnership will yield. Thank you, Mr. Carter, I responded, matching his enthusiasm. We're thrilled to collaborate with such a respected organization. As introductions continued, I couldn't help but notice subtle shifts in body language. Some executives leaned forward eagerly, clearly intrigued by ByteForge's unique approach. Others maintained polite smiles but betrayed hints of skepticism. It was clear that while Nexus saw potential in our collaboration, they weren't entirely convinced of our ability to execute. The initial meeting focused on strategic alignment, identifying synergies between our respective offerings and discussing integration timelines. While technical details dominated the conversation, underlying tensions simmered beneath the surface. Questions arose about resource allocation, leadership roles, and branding consistency. Each query tested not only our preparedness but also our resolve. At one point, A senior vice president named Ms. Patel raised an eyebrow, addressing me directly. Your team is significantly smaller than ours. How do you plan to manage the increased workload without compromising quality? Her question hung in the air, challenging yet fair. Taking a deep breath, I launched into a concise explanation of our lean operational model, emphasizing adaptability and efficiency. Our size allows us to pivot quickly, responding to market demands with agility unmatched by larger organizations. Additionally, we've invested heavily in automation tools that streamline processes, ensuring consistent output regardless of scale. Ms. Patel nodded thoughtfully, jotting notes onto her tablet. Though satisfied with my answer, her probing reminded me of the uphill battle ahead. Success required more than innovative ideas, it demanded rigorous execution and unwavering commitment. Throughout the day, similar exchanges unfolded, each presenting its own set of hurdles. Negotiations around intellectual property rights proved particularly contentious, highlighting philosophical differences between ByteForge's open-source ethos and Nexus's proprietary mindset. Tensions flared momentarily before cooler heads prevailed, leading to compromises that honored both perspectives. Despite these challenges, moments of genuine connection emerged. During lunch breaks, informal conversations revealed shared passions for technology's transformative power. Stories swapped about overcoming adversity fostered mutual respect among team members. These interactions humanized the process, reminding everyone involved that beyond titles and contracts lay individuals united by common goals. Back at the office later that afternoon, Mia and I debriefed over takeout sushi, dissecting every interaction from the day. Did you catch how impressed Mr. Carter seemed when you explained our customer retention strategies? She enthused, popping a piece of nigiri into her mouth. I noticed, I admitted, smiling faintly. But there's still so much work to do. Convincing them is one thing, delivering results is another. Mia reached across the table, squeezing my hand. We've done impossible things before. We can handle this. Her confidence bolstered mine, reigniting the fire that fueled ByteForge's journey thus far. Yes, obstacles loomed large, and uncertainties lingered. Yet amidst the chaos, clarity emerged. This merger wasn't merely about expansion or validation, it was about transformation. About evolving from scrappy underdogs into industry leaders capable of driving meaningful change. That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, thoughts raced through my mind. Would we truly rise to the occasion? Could we maintain integrity while adapting to Nexus's corporate culture? And perhaps most pressing, how would my family react when confronted with undeniable proof of ByteForge's success? Answers eluded me, obscured by shadows cast by streetlights filtering through my window. But one certainty remained, whatever lay ahead, I faced it head-on. With courage, resilience, and an unshakable belief in the vision that sparked ByteForge's inception. Because ultimately, this story wasn't just about defying doubters or achieving milestones. It was about embracing vulnerability, learning from failure, and discovering strength in unexpected places. It was about finding beauty in struggle and meaning in perseverance. And above all, it was about forging connections, not just with partners and clients, but with oneself. Tomorrow promised fresh battles and untold triumphs. But tonight, cocooned in quiet reflection, I embraced the unknown, ready to write the next chapter of ByteForge's saga. The weeks following the merger announcement were a whirlwind of activity. ByteForge's team, though small, worked tirelessly to integrate systems, align strategies, and establish rapport with Nexus Solutions staff. It was exhilarating but exhausting, a delicate dance between maintaining our identity as a scrappy startup and adapting to the polished professionalism of a well-established corporation. Every day brought new challenges, reconciling differences in workflow philosophies, navigating office politics, and ensuring that our clients felt supported during the transition. For me personally, it was also a test of leadership. I had always prided myself on being hands-on, involved in every aspect of ByteForge's operations. But now, with responsibilities multiplying exponentially, I had to learn how to delegate effectively, trust my team implicitly, and focus on the bigger picture. There were moments when self-doubt crept in, when emails piled up unanswered, meetings stretched late into the night, or critical decisions weighed heavily on my shoulders. Yet each time I faltered, Mia was there to remind me why we started this journey in the first place. "You're doing great," she'd say, her voice steady and reassuring. "Remember, Emma, none of this would be happening if you weren't exactly who you're supposed to be." Her words became my mantra, grounding me whenever uncertainty threatened to overwhelm. And slowly but surely, progress began to show. Our joint projects gained traction, earning praise from both existing customers and new prospects. The synergy between ByteForge's innovative tools and Nexus's robust infrastructure created opportunities neither company could have achieved alone. Even skeptics within Nexus began to acknowledge the value we brought to the table. But perhaps the most surprising development came not from the boardroom or the balance sheet, it came from home. One evening, after another long day at work, I walked through the front door to find my family gathered in the living room. My parents sat side by side on the couch, while Jake and Sarah occupied armchairs nearby. Their expressions were unreadable, a mix of curiosity and something else I couldn't quite place. For a moment, I froze, unsure what to expect. "Hey," I said cautiously, setting down my bag. "What's going on?" Mom patted the space beside her, inviting me to sit. "We wanted to talk to you about, well, everything." I hesitated before joining them, bracing myself for whatever critique might follow. Instead, Dad cleared his throat and spoke first. "Emma," he began, his tone unusually gentle, "we owe you an apology." I blinked, startled. "An apology?" "Yes," he continued, looking genuinely remorseful. "We've been so quick to dismiss your ambitions, to doubt your abilities. But seeing what you've accomplished with this merger with ByteForge, it's made us realize how wrong we were." Jake nodded, chiming in. "I'll admit, I didn't think much of your little project at first. But hearing about the impact you're having, the way you're changing things for other businesses, it's impressive, Em. Really impressive." Sarah added softly, "and brave. What you're doing takes courage, and we should have supported you more instead of questioning you." Tears welled in my eyes, catching me off guard. All this time, I'd steeled myself against their skepticism, determined to prove them wrong. But now, faced with their acknowledgement, even admiration, I found myself unprepared for the flood of emotions that followed. "I never stopped believing in myself," I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. "But it hasn't been easy. Knowing you doubted me, it hurt. A lot." "We know," Mom interjected, reaching out to squeeze my hand. "And we're sorry for that. You've always been someone who sees possibilities where others see limits. We should have trusted that instinct instead of letting fear cloud our judgment." As the conversation unfolded, I realized something profound. Forgiveness wasn't just about absolving past mistakes, it was about opening doors to new beginnings. My family hadn't changed overnight, they were still imperfect, still prone to worry, but they were trying. And that effort meant everything. Months later, ByteForge stood transformed. The merger with Nexus Solutions proved to be everything we hoped for and more. Together, we launched groundbreaking products that disrupted traditional markets, earned industry accolades, and attracted top talent eager to join our mission-driven culture. What began as a modest idea sketched on a napkin had blossomed into a thriving enterprise poised to shape the future of technology. Yet amidst all the external success, the greatest victories remained deeply personal. The bond one shared with Mia grew stronger with each passing challenge, our friendship evolving into an unbreakable partnership. Alex, once a lone developer, now led a team of brilliant engineers who revered his expertise and creativity. And my family? They became some of ByteForge's biggest advocates, cheering from the sidelines and celebrating milestones as if they'd been part of the journey from the start. On the day we officially unveiled our flagship product, a revolutionary platform combining AI-driven analytics with intuitive design, I stood on stage at a packed conference hall, heart-pounding with anticipation. Behind me loomed a massive screen displaying ByteForge's logo, glowing brightly against the darkened backdrop. As I scanned the audience, I spotted familiar faces, Mia beaming proudly, Alex giving me a thumbs up, and yes, even my parents Jake and Sarah, sitting together near the front row. This moment, I began, addressing the crowd, isn't just about ByteForge. It's about believing in yourself when no one else does. About taking risks, embracing failure, and finding strength in vulnerability. It's about proving that dreams aren't too big if you're willing to fight for them. Applause erupted around me, echoing like thunder in the cavernous space. But as I stepped back from the podium, basking in the glow of collective enthusiasm, I knew the real triumph lay not in applause or accolades. It lay in the journey itself, the struggles overcome, the lessons learned, the connections forged. Because ultimately, ByteForge wasn't just a company. It was a testament to resilience, a celebration of courage, and a reminder that sometimes, the smallest seeds yield the tallest trees. And as I gazed out at the sea of faces, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude, for the people who believed in me, for those who challenged me, and for the unwavering faith I held in myself. After all, it was that faith that carried me through darkest nights, propelling me toward brighter horizons. The story of Bite Forge wasn't over, not by a long shot. But as I raised my glass in silent toast to the future, I knew one thing for certain: whatever lay ahead, we'd face it together.